So let's get into the two big new movies. I think let's start with what might be officially the death knell of the superhero movies. Madam Web came out this weekend. So you said you almost saw it, Kirk. So
Mhm.
how
Yep.
how did it go from almost to not seeing it? Paint a picture of how you almost went to Madam Web with the bros.
Well, my friend at Barstool, Jeff D. Lowe, who hosts a movie podcast, Lights Camera Barstool for a long time, huge movie guy, said, let's go see it. It looks so bad that we have to see it. But then he wound up getting tickets for the UConn basketball game. I mean, bros before movies,
Mhm.
we're balling out,
Right,
So
right. You're balling all week. Yeah.
front row seat to the UConn game, coaches recognizing us, fist bumps, like
Right.
doing this thing, a lot of this. So like
Did you guys end up on the Tron? Did you guys
I
Jeff D'Lo, Kirk
I
Minahan,
don't think so, but a lot of pictures, a lot of it was just it's exhausting, but at the same time, it's part of the business. You gotta get out there and shake. You guys know better than anybody. You shake their
of
ass.
course.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
I listen, I'm interrupted on Paris vacations by cyclists, so I get
People
it.
are
Yeah.
tackling you on a bicycle. Like this is
Right.
not easy. It's like American
Right.
flyers. So when we didn't get the chance to do it, but it's so bad. Did you guys see it? You saw it, right?
We were going to see it and
Uh-oh.
then we didn't see it. And it
Mhm.
really came down to there was issues with the AMC app, changing times, overlapping with another time, and then it got to a point where it's not worth it.
When do we
So
get the
that
screen? When do we get the screener stage for you guys? When do you stop going with we're not there yet.
we haven't put any effort into trying to get it,
Mm-hmm.
but I agree. The fact that listen, we like to mix it up with the common people once in a
Sure.
while,
Sure.
Yeah.
but not at the movies. At the grocery store, sure,
Sure, right.
but not at the movie theater.
But you're right. This is, I mean, again, some movie will come out in the next couple of years and they'll make a fortune. But the end is you can smell the smell of death is now just overwhelming when these movies, just one turd after another gets rolled out with no hope. No
Yeah.
hope of being good, no hope of being seen. Everything I'm hearing about this is just nonsensical. It's just like they just said fuck it in the middle of it and just gave up.
Yeah. Well, it feels like, we talked about it when we were making predictions for Valentine's Date movies.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like these superhero movies have gotten to the point where you can't be seen at them. If you're going to a theater, how do you say, I'm going to go to Madam Web? Tell a date, tell a friend, tell a coworker. That's what I am going to do this weekend. That's what I did. I mean, these movies, I think, feel like they've just got a scarlet letter on them if you're going to them.
Because I don't think you can win either way if you're doing it as, I actually want to see this and I'm interested in it. That's a red flag. But then also if you're like, I'm going to just see this for shits because it's bad. That also is sort of not a thing you want to do with a date.
Right.
Because the date's going to be like, oh, is it this guy, the bad movie guy? I don't want to be with the bad movie guy or girl or person.
Right. Yeah. Girl could be with anyone. So this movie, it like you said, Kirk, it had that lead up where there was no hope for this. You go back even to something like The Flash in June, which is less than a year ago. There were hope that movie was going to open at
Jeff Bach,
100 million. Jeff
Oh,
Bach,
He was
Tom
half
Cruise.
man, he was half man, half hype.
yeah.
Tom
Jeff
Cruise.
Bach had it at the
Tom
biggest movie.
Cruise.
Tom Cruise said it was the best movie he's ever seen.
Yeah.
And now we're less than a year later, 8 months later, and something like Madam Web comes out, and a month out, it's totally DOA.
Well, I was
Totally
thinking this. I
DOA.
want to ask you guys this earlier. I was thinking of this. I did my show tonight. Took a quick break. Got Subway.
Right.
Was sitting in Subway by myself, reading my book, which is just a book I found at the used bookstore, which is a description of each number one adult contemporary Billboard song of the 1980s. I love lists. So I'm just happily reading the book like a loser.
Right.
And I thought, gee, what would the guys say like if Madam Web came out, the exact same movie, exact same cast in 2019? What does it open at?
Oh,
So,
2019?
2019.
70?
That movie has to open at least
50?
70 or 80. I think it
Yeah.
has to do over 75 million. Something like Venom is opening to 90, right?
Right.
Back then.
Right.
So at least 60 in a 3-day, at least.
Right. I saw Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage with Harry opening night.
Mhm.
And it was dumb, but it was fun. Like, this does
Right.
not seem like it's even that. It just seems like I don't know. I'm not even hearing that from people.
Well, I mean, listen, this movie is no particular person's fault, but, uh, Dakota Johnson, I've heard a lot of people talk about how much they loved her press tour and how, all her press tour was making
Stay
fun of the
away.
movie
Stay away. Yep.
and but I gotta say, it's her job to promote the movie, and that press tour was just taking the piss out of a movie that hadn't come out yet,
Right.
or trying to pretend that she's above it. And
Yeah.
not that that hurt the movie, but I don't know if it's a great idea for the star of a movie that hasn't come out yet to basically be saying, "I'm with you on how bad this is gonna be."
You can't read the script, agree to do it, get paid, and then be surprised if it's shit. Like,
Mhm.
return the money. It's kind of like I was saying, my show earlier tonight came up. Robert Downey Jr. just won the BAFTA supporting actor.
Yes.
I'm a little sick of his like, oh, I had to play this guy Tony for 12. Like, what? You
Uh,
fucking got paid $500 million for that, and
Yeah.
you were dead before it. You were dead. And
yeah.
then that led to Sherlock Holmes, which you agreed to do. And you agreed to do Doolittle and The Judge. Like, all of a sudden, you're like, I was rescued by Christopher Nolan. Well, you took the money. You took
Yeah.
don't give all the money back. Give it. I hate that. Like, everyone's like, oh, Dakota Johnson's a queen. She doesn't even know the name of the movie. It's like, well, that's like pretty shitty. Like, you made a deal. I presume she got paid, I don't know, whatever, 8 million, 4 million, 12 million.
Right.
Like, does the movie stink? Sure. Did she read the script and say yes? I'm pretty sure she did.
But it really shows how the tide has turned, because you remember when Gwyneth Paltrow got tons of flack
Right.
for when she did not remember she was in a Marvel movie. Because the way they shoot the Marvel movies, she's just not sure where her scenes are going to go. And she honestly just didn't know. And she wasn't taking a piss and she wasn't having a laugh. She was
Wasn't having a laugh.
just confused. And people lambasted her and started, saying goop this and pussy candles this and whatever they wanted to say
Sure.
about her.
Right.
Now he's a king, she's a queen for saying terrible things about superhero movies. And that is just really showing where the culture has moved and how I think Robert Downey Jr., and I've said this on the show, he's making it okay to say bad things about these movies now. And the floodgates are open. So if you're stuck in a contract on a superhero movie, it is free reign to say that this thing is going to be terrible. And that is bad, I think, for theatrical, because then you have lame duck movies coming out, right?
Mhm.
What if Pedro Pascal is like, yeah, I got this dumb 60s FF movie coming out. That's going to be
Right.
terrible. And then, I don't think he'd do it. He seems like a classy guy. But that's possible. It's all possible now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, you've got Kraven the Hunter coming out in the fall. And that is the next movie from this non-Spider-Man Spider-Man universe in the Sony MCU. That movie is completely dead. Completely.
chance.
There is no chance.
chance. None.
Like, that is a movie that could open up single digits opening weekend by the time we get to it. Does Aaron Taylor Johnson, so he's the guy who played Kick-Ass, he's playing Kraven. At
Mhm.
this point, his press tour has to top Dakota Johnson's, right? He has to shit on a poster. He has to Gigi Allen a
Mhm.
poster of Kraven when he's promoting this movie,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I think that is just the precedent that's been set. Is you cannot go out there and say, "Come see my movie; it's going to be great." He's got piss and shit on images of the film in the press tour.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just don't know. Like, I'm not a massive fan. Like, my son really likes them. I'm not a huge fan of these things. I'll be curious. I imagine it'll then turn around in a few years, but maybe it's just dead. I mean, the run has been crazy.
Right.
Maybe we're just done. Like, I mean, Deadpool will make a lot of money if they bring back whatever. They said the end of Guardians that Chris Pratt's not done, so they'll do something with him. And the next Spider-Man with Tom Holland will make a ton of money. But like original kind of new sort of new stuff, it's just not happening. It's not happening.
We'll get back to because we got to talk more Madam Web, but you did mention Deadpool and Wolverine, which is Deadpool 3.
Right.
And that is a movie that I am saying, if you've heard because you listen,
every
that
week?
I think it is going to bomb. And by bomb, I mean it's going to bomb like a superhero movie bombs, like how Aquaman second movie went from being $1 billion baby for the first one, and now it's making half that. Deadpool is going to have lower returns this time. And I've been taken to task and lambasted for this because it was the most watched trailer and all these different things. And it's like, yeah, just because somebody is going to click on a vid and watch a trailer doesn't mean they're going to go see the movie necessarily. And it's a long time until that movie comes out. These sort of failures only compound people's disinterest in these things. Madam Web doing poorly, anything that comes out in between now and Deadpool that makes superheroes not cool anymore is going to diminish Deadpool. So I don't think that it's a slam dunk that movie is going to be huge.
I think it will. You could be right. I think it will just because people like that franchise. And it's one of those movies I think has gotten more popular as more younger people watch it. So I think it'll do pretty well. Like Spider-Man made a ton of money after the Eternals, which stunk. Like I think movies can stink and then the other ones will do great. Will it make as much as the last Deadpool? I don't know. But I actually think that one will be successful. But the point is, like, they keep, like, Robert Downey Jr. is dumping all over Tony Stark right now. Does anybody think that he's not going to play Tony Stark again in his life? Like, these guys always come back and play these characters, like, every single time. At some point, they're going to throw tons of money at that original group, and they're going to make a movie. They'll make a lot of money, but that's not going to solve the core problem, which is that you have to develop young stars, and they just can't do it. It's sort of like a conundrum like wrestling's had for a long time. Like, oh, let's bring The Rock back. Let's bring back. So when I heard The Rock was coming back, I presumed it was against you guys, given your feud with him. That felt like a WrestleMania night. Nothing against you guys yet. That still feels like a night one WrestleMania. Maybe.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could sell me on night two. But like, it's sort of the same thing where they can't develop these young. Nobody wanted to see Brie Larson on her own. Nobody wanted to see this thing. Nobody wanted to. So like, great, you can do Guardians 3. It's going to make a bazillion dollars, but like, that doesn't solve the real problem.
Yeah. And then when you have Downey just basically saying that he was kidnapped, he was miserable for 10 years. He was at his lowest point, He
was like Brie Larson in the room, really. Like, basically, that was it.
Right. That they had it, that Nolan had to sneak him out in a rug.
Right.
Get him out of the MCU.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Nolan, Kevin Feige would like give him a bologna sandwich once in a while, but he would turn off the power if he was bad. And he had to find a way to escape.
Yeah. But now, don't want to spoil it, but if we all remember the end of Room, what happens? She ends up back in Room. She has to go visit Room. Right. And I think you're right. Downey will go back to Room at some point. And, like her character didn't get a big check to visit Room. It's more of an emotional thing, but Downey will get a big check to revisit Room. I think right now, because Clayton and I saw that quote, it just blew our minds when we saw what he said about playing Tony Stark. I think he's on the Oscar trail. He wants to lock down this Oscar. It almost feels like this is him making sure they're not a Norbit situation. Remember how Norbit cost Eddie Murphy the Oscar? We're like, Tony Stark is almost Downey's Norbit now, where he doesn't want the voters to see him, iron suit, fat suit. It's all the same. And I think he's just trying to be like, hey, that's not me. I'm the actor guy. So give me the Oscar. Don't worry about my Norbit.
I think he's giving attention to something that doesn't, like, I don't think anybody thinks of that. Like, they're just like, oh, he's good in the movie. I mean, Doolittle is way worse. I mean, that's something most people wouldn't recover from, but
yeah.
And for him, because it's already, I mean, listen, maybe it's not in the bag, but it feels like it's in the bag for him, the Oscar. So he really is just, it could also be a ploy to get paid more.
What?
Like, that also could be his ploy where he's like, I'm going to keep talking this mess until you pay me $1 billion to come back.
Right.
Like, honestly, because, and then he can get it down, they'll get it down to like 700 million or whatever. I mean, that also could be the ploy. I will stop talking trash if you write that huge check.
Right. Right. At this point, they might have to pay Downey just to stop making fun of their movies. Never mind be in the movie.
And that's my big thing with the Deadpool Wolverine is that say I'm wrong or reality doesn't match up with my expectations. I'm not gonna say I'd be wrong. That's
Sure.
what I'm gonna say.
Right.
And this thing is huge.
Mhm.
The problem with that is it's gonna get huge off of the fact that it is goofing on superhero movies. So that will then be the last movie you can make because everything after it is going to seem so stupid. If they do a great job with this movie and really ridicule the multiverse and all the inane, dumb characters they pulled out of the woodwork to
Mhm.
put in movies, and they do that with Deadpool and Wolverine, then you have nowhere to go. You have no place to go as the MCU. And that is the problem with this movie is if it's a huge success, then it's going to destroy the Marvel universe.
Do we think Dakota Johnson appears in Deadpool 3 to
Ironically,
make fun of Madam Web? Like Deadpool asked her, "Hey, could you name all the Madam Webs?" You know, he
yeah,
asked
and
her
then
that
maybe she does a
question.
thing. Maybe she does a thing with Ellen again during it, where Ellen invites
Oh,
she's
yeah.
invited out to the birthday party, and then
Yes.
she's. I
I'm
could see
hitting
that.
at you.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Don Johnson, maybe. Yeah, it's all
Yep,
in place.
that's the scene is Deadpool asks Madam Web, "How come you didn't come to my birthday party?" And
I,
then Madam
you
Web
didn't
says,
invite me.
"You
Right.
didn't invite
Yes,
me."
I'd watch
That's
that.
the scene.
Yeah, yeah, I'd watch
That's
that.
the scene. Yeah, they got to do it. And I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen. So, Sydney Sweeney, does she get hurt at all by this Madam Web opening?
Nope, nope, absolutely not. Nope. Anyone, this bought her a bunch of time, and I think like yeah, she's not the star of it. I don't think anybody's killing her for it. No, this is not a big deal at all.
You know,
Yeah, when
we
she
were
when she
arguing, Clay, go for it.
yeah. No, well, I was just gonna say when she ate the wings,
Mhm.
right? As you do at that level, she ate the
Absolutely.
wings.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you,
Mhm.
I I like her, but I was not impressed with that showing. I mean, not the wing eating was fine, but there just wasn't that specialness that some of those episodes have.
Well, you saw that
But
She
meme
didn't vomit.
everywhere, though. That picture of her was everywhere, where she was looking up, and I mean, it was all
that's
over the
great.
place. Yeah,
So that's enough. That's enough.
right.
But the thing with that is that people are not gonna think she was promoting Madam Web when she ate the wings. They're
No.
gonna think she was promoting Anyone But You with the
Definitely.
extra 4 to 5 minutes of hardcore pornography,
Mhm.
and that's how it will be remembered. So Madam Web will not affect her at all. They'll be like, "She ate the wings for that movie that turned into a porno."
Right.
That is what they're gonna remember.
Yeah. Last week, Clayton and I were arguing about whether the marketing was hiding or teasing that she was in spandex latex in this movie.
I heard this.
Turns out, now neither of us have seen the film, but I've read recaps. The superheroes aren't even in Madam Web. They're basically only superheroes in flash forward quick
Right.
glimpses. So Sydney
Mhm.
Sweeney, her character actually doesn't end up being a superhero in this film.
Mhm.
So I think she's 100% clear because this isn't even a movie where people didn't go, even though Sydney Sweeney would be in a superhero costume. She wasn't. She was
Right.
not in it. She gets no flack at all for this
Absolutely.
failure.
Totally safe. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean that flash of her in the Spider-Woman costume will now go down in history as like probably something people will look at and think, "Oh, did she go to a Halloween party and dress like Spider-Woman? That's cool." And they're not going to remember that it was part of a terrible movie.